It's hard to believe in yourself sometimes, but that's the one thing that we have to do. And we're the one person in our lives that we have to believe in every single day, every single night. I want you to type in your 4 1s, the opening of the spirit realm, every single time that you come here, spiritual superstar. You know why? Because those 4 1s represent the opening of your spiritual journey. They represent the bridge to hearing from divine source. And a part of believing in yourself is creating that opportunity, creating the energy, creating the moment. And when we need to believe in ourselves, usually that's the last thing that we want to do. When we're feeling down, when we're feeling out of whack, just not feeling balanced, just feeling kind of low self-esteem, lack of confidence. And the one thing we need to do is change that energy around to believe in ourselves. There was a TEDx that I was checking out a few minutes ago, and I really loved his message. His name is in the title. I can't pronounce his last name, Cathcart or Cathcart. I'm going to jack it up, so I'm just going to say Jim. But what he said was something that I had heard over and over and over again, and that I actually sought out because one day I went along a sidewalk on my way to picking up the kids, and there were a ton of oak trees. And I'd grown used to bringing a bag so that I could get as many acorns up as I could and bring them home because we had a family of chipmunks living underneath our back porch. And I would feed them, and some squirrels that would come into the yard too. And so I remember looking at the squirrels and the chipmunks, and they never chose the acorn that was too green, or it just wasn't, maybe it had a blemish on it. They didn't choose those. They were very picky, and they knew what the best acorn was. And this gentleman, Jim, in his TEDx spoke of the acorn, the power of the acorn in believing in yourself. And I want to share this with you in hopes that you share it with everybody else. The acorn. There's 3 parts to the acorn. And that acorn is not going to be worthy. It's not going to be good to you or anybody if it's too green, if it's not ready. Nobody wants it. But there's a stem to that acorn, right? The stem that was attached to that oak. And then there's like a top to it, right? And then there's the acorn. Well, we all know that the acorn is going to grow into this big oak tree. And we all know that when we're feeling lower than, we feel this lack of self-esteem, that we've got to change that energy around. We've got to change our mindset. And that means we have to think like the oak tree. Because when we're in that green state of feeling like nobody wants us, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we feel like we don't even want us, we just feel like just all hope is lost, or we can't do this one thing that we keep dreaming for, or people around us are telling us we can't do it. And often, quite often, spiritual superstars, it's our family members. It's our blood family. It's the people we hang around the most that affects us so deeply. And it's very hard to change that external variable, that external force of energy, quite often negative energy. When we're living with family that are stuck and stagnant, that are okay with their average life, and we don't want an average life, or we want just more. We aspire for greater things. We look outside of our current situation. And when we're living with someone or we're hanging around people, we have friends that don't want the same thing. It makes it difficult to see ourselves as the oak tree when we are still the green acorn. So that green acorn has to be able to grow. It has to mature, right? It takes time for that to happen, just like it takes time for us to change our mindset. But we begin one step at a time. That stem, that stem was attached to the top of that acorn to the oak tree. And that stem is our history. It is our connection to those that we're around. So your stem is that connection. It's the relationship between you and other people. And if that relationship is toxic, if that source of energy that's feeding you is not healthy, if it's not positive, if it's not supporting your dreams and your wishes and your aspirations, then we've got to let that stem go. We've got to cut that stem off. And it can be difficult, but through time, that stem will fall off. It doesn't mean that we have to totally be, without our family or friends. It means that we have to redirect that energy back to ourselves, right? When the acorn drops from the acorn tree, that stem is still on top of that acorn, right? That stem is still there. But the stem is no longer feeding that acorn. That acorn is surviving on its own. That acorn is going from green to brown. It is maturing, right? It is ripening. It is perfecting itself, right? And it's still not attached to that oak tree anymore. The stem falls off, right? The stem, the top of it comes up. And then that whole round part of the acorn, the top part, the hat of the acorn comes off too. I feel like that hat of the acorn is our old self. And what's left is a mature, ripened acorn. What's left is a wiser you. When you believe in yourself, it is a matter of doing the tough work. And a part of this tough work is separating from things that hold us back, from living our best life, from fulfilling our dreams, from making some of our aspirations come true over and over again. We repeat it so that even more of our dreams come true. And detaching from sometimes people we love and loving them with a long-handled spoon, as the elders say, taking what they say with a grain of salt, as they say, very wise words, because we get to love them where they're at. And we get to love ourselves where we are going. Does that make sense to anybody? Hit the thumbs up button, comment a situation that you found yourself in where you've had to separate from those you love in order to reach a goal that meant that much to you. And I want to call your attention to that. I want you to go back to that moment, because it very well may have been the fact that you couldn't hang around your friends when you were trying to pass an exam. You couldn't go out that night. You couldn't attend that event because you were trying to take care of something that really mattered to you. Could have been taking care of your aging parent. Could have been the fact that you're a parent yourself and you had to care for your children, or maybe you just wanted to stay home and pamper yourself. and you had to say no to people you love. You couldn't attend something. Maybe you were saving for a big purchase, or you were buying your home, or you were just saving money, just trying to budget, and you couldn't attend this vacation, or you couldn't make this travel arrangement happen, or, go to this party, or just buy the latest thing. Whatever it was, it took a sacrifice. A part of believing in yourself is a sacrifice. And so I really want to make that known, because some people say, oh, you just got to do it. But what are the steps to just do it? Right? If you don't know the steps, how can you just do it? The steps that I've learned, the steps that work for me, are separating me from who I'm attached to energetically. Who am I attached to? Goes back to family. It goes back to family of origin. That stem of the acorn is DNA. But guess what? Even though parts of our DNA stem back to our parents, stem back to our ancestors, some of that energy we want, some of the energy we don't want. And we get to say that. You get to say that. I'm not my parents. I'm not my ancestors. But I am grateful for who I am. You know what that does, spiritual superstars? It humbles you into being grateful for what our ancestors have been able to do for us and will continue to do for us. Because even when we have parents we may not have ever known, that may have been abusive, that may have really done us dirty, that may have really done us so wrong that you can't even believe they're your parents, that you might go through this life and wonder, how the heck could my mom do that to me? How the heck could my father even set his lips to say something like that to me? How could they put their hands on me? How could they not just protect me from being abused? How could they not do everything in their power to make sure that me and my siblings were okay? How could they not? Even when you have parents like that, even when you have a stem connected to the top of you as the acorn, even when you have a stem like that, unhealthy, once you drop off from that oak tree, once you fall off, you are empowered to survive on your own. Because guess what? Spiritually, we're never really alone. That acorn can't ripen on its own. It is nature, which is spirit, which is our creator, designed us like that. So the acorn can survive on its own, and so can you. Because guess what? There's invisible help. There's support happening. All we have to do is tap into it. If the acorn falls from the oak tree and is no longer connected to that source, how can it ripen on its own? There's a source, a hidden energy that we call spirit. Nature, the universe, helps us. And so remember that. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. Move forward knowing you absolutely deserve so much more than you've ever given yourself credit to receive. And just like the acorn, you will ripen. You will perfect your craft. You will get better through time. And you will do it, a lot of it, on your own, co-creating with spirit. There's a lot of times where we think we have to involve this person and that person, and we simply don't. And once we do, we allow their energy to infiltrate us and change our own mind. And we then believe their energy over ours. And spiritual superstars, I'm telling you right now that you are way more powerful and way more special to give up your hopes, wishes, and dreams to satisfy someone else who is okay where they're at. Love them where they're at. Stop trying to bring people with you when Spirit has already assigned people to you that are going to greet you every step you take. So feed faith and open those doors, because where you're going, there are no keys. People are assigned to you to bless you, to support you, and encourage you. And you've got people assigned to you to share your testimony with. So every step you take, be reminded, be empowered that you're serving as a true testimony to people that look up to you, that you may not even know exist. But I guarantee you that when Spirit puts them in your path, they will see you. And what do you want them to see? You want them to see that oak tree. You will have grown into that oak tree, and you get to tell them how you began. You get to tell them how you rose up, how you weathered the storm. You get to tell them how there were many other acorns over time that didn't make it, but you did. And you get to tell them how you did it. You get to tell them how tough it was. You get to tell them how difficult it was. You get to tell them how worth it was. Because when you live your life with heart and soul, and you take on the tough challenges, and you hustle, and you take massive action, and you stay focused on your dreams, you are destined for success. And when you share that testimony with others, the feeling you get being a blessing to others is priceless. That is the empowerment that I pray that you receive. You are here for way more than you're giving yourself credit for. And I pray that this message hits home for you, because there are many people waiting for you to share your testimony. So right now is the best time for you to take that next step and live in your truth and separate yourself from that oak tree so that you can become the oak tree that you were always meant to be. I love y'all. Mwah.